We've entered the 30-day window in Solana's history when things tend to be the most explosive, leading up to Breakpoint. And we've got 9 tokens that we think are worth covering. There's no guarantees, just some very, very high conviction plays. And we're going to take you through all of them and what we're doing with each token. And just a reminder, nothing is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. It's educational in nature. I've put my own money into these tokens, and I'm going to tell you the thesis for each token. First up, last year, just before Breakpoint, Sol was at like 127, and then it made its move up all the way to its all-time high. And this cycle is very, very confusing. Some people think it's all over. Maybe it is. I don't think that, but maybe it is. Potentially, this could be the time when we have reached our bottom right now, $134, and we start to move up. Like Mert says, and like Vibu doesn't say, sold to $1,000. Not financial advice, just a nice lofty target. Now, what's the first token on the list? It's Meta. I've spoken about this at length. I've constantly had fibs out, and I've been actually LPing it myself for quite a bit of time. And I've told people about it as well. It's probably been the best thing that I've LP'd ever, like completely ever. And now I'm welcoming you to come and dilute me in the LP pools. Now, as a token, if we kind of ignore this scam wick here, just having a look at our screenshot here with our fibs, it has done it really, really well from its lows. It's just kind of rocketed up. But the important thing is when things rocket up, they tend to give back the gains. They did, and then they did. And then they came up again, and they have come down. So where we want to play is kind of in this region right here. For now, we're only talking about the next 30 days. And to be more accurate, at the time of recording, it's about 22 days until Breakpoint. And if something goes a little bit parabolic, I'll update you either on Twitter, Telegram, or YouTube. Definitely Telegram, though, so make sure you follow me there. If something goes parabolic, I'm going to take some chips off the table, essentially. So what we've done is we've gone and put some USDC and we've put some Meta into this LP. This is the one that we're in, 1.5%, 125 bins. From now, I'm not going to tell you everything. You can just look at it visually. And this is in a curved position because this is where I think it's going to consolidate. However, if it starts to move up, I'm going to take these funds, I'm going to rearrange them so that they're starting to maximize what we're looking for. And then with these tokens here, I'm probably not going to pull out any tokens until it's worth around $5, and then I'll compound it and I'll do another video on that. But one thing you could do if you went in with like a lot of funds potentially, and you don't have to copy me here, this is just what I'm doing. But if you did really feel that this was worthwhile, what you could do is you come in, add a new position. So let's say you made 100 Meta in LP fees, and then you take 10 and you put it in here. Only you do not have it like that. You have it quite high so that you have a lot more room to grow if it does completely explode. Now, the thesis is pretty simple. Like meme coins, they're not dead, but they've lost so much interest. It's been very, very extractive. It always was. And to be perfectly honest, I'd be happy just to exit pretty much all meme coin positions other than Bonk and Pengu. Maybe there's a couple smaller others, but I just don't see them as valuable. With MetaDAO, though, these are ownership tokens. You own the treasury. You own the IP with your tokens. They are incredible, and it's not even like the Super Saiyan version, right? This is still the building blocks, and things just get better and better. As a recent example, Solomon had 103 million almost committed, and they took 8 million. And I'm excited for all the permissioned launches and the permissionless. A lot of them can start to do well as they start to learn things and if they have product market fit. So MetaDAO is easily probably my first one on the list. The next one is OR. And you can see my fibs here early and then just broke out, and now these fibs are completely not valid. People have asked about this, like at this stage here, like why did it come up so strong and then come back down? And this is just like hype. Like a few people here, RSI would have been incredibly overbought, and then you just dump into into the chart if you had a whole lot of these ore tokens. Now, right now, it's kind of chugging along, but it is very, very volatile. So we're kind of thinking we could come down somewhere around here, but we'd like to think that we could come up to around the 0.786 fib, potentially. There are a couple of issues here. I won't go through all of them, but I would say that the team could do a better job of like trying to get people on board in some regards, to be perfectly honest. And I've made some really cool content. None of it has been like retweeted by the team or whatever, and that's okay. I just feel that they're very technical, and so technical without the other side, the community kind of has to make up for it, which they're doing, but it can kind of fail potentially. So there's always risks in everything that we're doing. But one thing that I do like is I like to be in pools that are earning over 1% per day. This one here started with $200. It's down a little bit. We're just in the spot range. And I'm just going to plug the fees back in, to be perfectly honest. As long as we're in this range. You may want to go with a curve approach where it's concentrated here. However, this fluctuates so much that I just decided to go with spot. Another part of the thesis is it's producing a massive amount of revenue. At one stage it was $1 million, and now it's here at 250K. But it's only been really going in this V2 kind of form for a couple of weeks. And the growth has been absolutely insane. 55,000 SOL, which is pretty amazing. And it's also essentially, it's deflationary. They are buying more ore back than actually the ore that they're producing. Also, the community is really active here. Refine ore is one thing which gives you a whole lot of analytics, and you can also mine in this in a different form, and it's pretty cool. And they've been speaking quite often about the flippening between SOL and ore, and this, of course, has happened. And I just think the community with this gives it the chance to be a kind of a mainstream meme coin community token with that store of value memed into existence. It's still like there's no guarantees of success, and here especially, like, there's going to be a lot of resistance, especially if the team, which put in all the work, to be fair, but if they end up doing really well and then the community not so much, I'm unsure how that's going to potentially work out. But when I have mined it, I've just left the ore inside the smart contract. That way it's earning like an 88% APY or something along those lines. The next token to cover is AVICI. This one is something that I kind of smooth-brained completely, to be perfectly honest. Like, this did the best out of all of the ICOs from MetaDAO. It launched at 30 cents, just rocketed up. I had my fibs, as you can see, and then it just continued to go. It was active on social media, covered it early on, and like, it did it really well. However, like, when things go up crazily like this, you would expect a bit of a pullback. And although I want them to win, the token's probably a little bit overvalued right now. But potentially, there could be news coming out at Breakpoint which shows how much growth they've had, which values things differently. The way I've got AVICI set up is just like this. It's in a curve, and it goes all the way up to $8, but at $8, there's a minimal amount of AVICI there. It also goes all the way down to basically $2. And at $2, this is still like a 7x of its ICO price, which is very decent. However, unfortunately, the amount that it's making per day is kind of minimal. But the good thing is, if you're in a curve position, you end up doing better. And with $200, it's not going to be anything too sizable, but 1% per day for an LP with like fundamentally strong projects is pretty damn decent. Also, by the way, I did a podcast with Regulin from Cast. This is my preferred card, and he is on board with AVICI winning as well. I think this is pretty cool. I like this last line here. AVICI success is Cast success. Each entrant makes us all want to ship faster, do better, and also sets a stage for when we TGE. Cast is still significantly better than AVICI, in my opinion. However, like, you do want competition, and this is very good to see. There's one very important thing to keep in mind. There's a massive amount of potential customers out there. So you can have multiple companies that will be extremely successful. And the good thing with AVICI is you own part of AVICI with the MetaDAO token, MetaDAO AVICI token. However, with Cast, they have a points program which converts to a token next year is our expectation. And sorry, I got something wrong before. AVICI's starting price was 35 cents, not actually 30. Either way, they got a massive amount in commitments, 34 million, and then they decided to cap it at 3.5 million. 3.5 million, I think they could have gone with more in order to grow faster, but this is also a good thing to do just to keep the market cap low. And then, well, we've basically seen that it was valued higher. So they could have taken more, to be perfectly honest. Next up is Loyal. Now, this token has done nothing exciting whatsoever. It was missionless, and they ended up getting an insane amount of commitments. However, the token just didn't grow. And I believe, in my opinion, that they're a bit kind of behind in terms of marketing. I don't even think we should kind of take this first wick, but if we do, this is what the fibs look like, to be perfectly honest. And it's a kind of important because this is where I think the price could go if they manage to have some sizable breakthroughs between now and Breakpoint, and then let people know around Breakpoint. The good thing with Loyal is it's pretty close to its ICO price, so we wouldn't see it potentially go down too far. And I've got far more Loyal than I do with USDC. And although we've eaten some of the USDC down from here to here, I am expecting that we could come all the way up here. And I'm just going to be selling in a curve pattern up to here. Maybe it happens by Breakpoint. Maybe it doesn't. There is a massive push for privacy. And this is essentially like a ChatGPT that you can use, only it's private. You're going to pay for your usage, but you can put everything there and nobody can access it except for you. Like, nobody can access it except for you. That is a value play. I think they just need to get more information out there so that people are aware of like what they're actually building. But they've already improved a whole lot of things. You can even play with it right now on DevNet with like DevNet Sol. Next up, we have Umbra, which is all about privacy, being able to send Sol from this wallet to this wallet, and then you don't know like how it got there, but you know that it did because it's all in that wallet. And Umbra did this massive push up, and then it came on down hard, and here it is sitting at 60 cents. Now, if we have a look at the fibs, I'm not expecting it to come up here, not anytime soon. However, I would expect it to come up all the way here, which would be good, and maybe bounce from the 0.236 to the 382 in this kind of realm. So that's how we've positioned this, and we're basically just in spot, and we're from this price all the way up. So we've got a lot more Umbra tokens than we do with USDC. And it's important to know that they went and put forward a proposal so that they've got money for an audit, which is good. They're on the final stages. And in addition to that, they're now going to be opening up to start testing things. However, it's all kind of balanced on Archeum. So if Archeum manages to launch Q4, which is what their expectation is, then I think this starts to take off. That's my kind of expectation. I think there's a massive need for privacy. Important to note, Umbra set a price of 30 cents per token. So it's basically a 2x already. Even though it ballooned up, it's sitting at a 2x. Now, one thing is the fee is kind of low, and even with our liquidity, it's low. We're also in a higher base fee pool at 2%, and we've got our fees here. So this is not necessarily a fee play. It's more if Archeum launches, if there's like some massive amounts of traction made, then I would expect this to kind of go all the way up. And then, well, it would have done pretty well. I would be left with a whole lot more USDC, and I would have these swap fees as well, which I can then put in, compound, and maybe even let go higher. Maybe take some of the Umbra that I earn and let it go all the way to $2 another LP. The next token is FAF, Flash Trade. Now, this token had a nice little wick all the way up here recently, and then it's kind of come down fairly significantly of late, although I'm not really sure what actually caused this. But this is a token which is not a MetaDAO token, per se. It's not a MetaDAO ICO, but it is a Futagi actual token. That's really cool. So you can see that we've just come down really, really hard. But it also means that the market does expect or think it could go higher potentially. And it could go even higher and higher with a lot more traction. So this is how I've got it set up. Fees not too bad, 0.33, nothing crazy, but not too bad. Then again, not a whole lot of actual tokens locked in there. And I'm just sitting here in spot, and I'm okay with that. I'm in the 1.5% base fee pool, but I'm expecting them to have some news. They are competitive. It is not as easy to be a perpstex on Solana. However, Solana is making massive improvements on this. More on that later. Also, if you were to stake your FAF, you end up getting 20% APR, and the team has no FAF. They only get FAF if they ship something, they have to ask for it, they ship it, and then they get their FAF. It's very, very fair in that system. They did their own tokenomics before MetaDAO had an actual ICO platform. However, because they're attached to MetaDAO in a sense with Futagi, I think as long as they ship some cool stuff, if they manage to ship something that maybe relates to magic blocks or integrating something so that transactions are faster, cheaper, then they could start to get some more perps volume. Next, we have the MET token itself. Now, this one's just one to watch because it's just fluctuating beautifully between 0.5 and then 0.34 and then up. So you could potentially just trade this if you wanted to, if you're watching, just in between those levels. There's a lot of liquidity there, so you're not going to make a whole lot on fees. What I do want to show you is this clip from JP, and essentially Soju gives the bull case for the MET token. It's worth listening to. I want you just to listen to it. The link is below. But in the long run, everything we will do is all about including the token. Soju wants to get rich because the token went up, not because of any other reason. And Meteor is the best LPing fee tech platform. It's had a past, which was not squeaky clean, but it is really, really good. The airdrop was massive. That was fantastic for a lot of people. However, they do need to kind of let some excitement come towards the token, utility or something, or in order to make it more appealing to those that are, holding it, wanting to buy it. And I think that could be coming very, very soon. Also says in this, Trade Guy says the generated over 100 million in revenue since the start of the year. Don't believe that is the case. I believe it's around 67 million, which is still really, really sizable. And also the token was launched with such a massive amount of circulating supply, basically half of all the tokens are circulating supply, that it never kind of hit this 1 billion threshold, which it would have definitely been expected to do so. It came on down, it rebounded. You can see the fibs working magical here. And we have the idea that potentially we could come all the way up to the 1.618. So because of that, this is how we've done things. However, we're at the bottom end. If we go much lower, we'll be out of range. We set this up yesterday, and then we had a massive kind of jump off a cliff, unfortunately. And as you can see, we did not earn a whole lot of fees because there isn't a crazy amount of volume just in general. Now, the big thesis and talking point here is Met Derby. I'll be at Met Derby in Abu Dhabi. This is December 10. And this conference by Meteor is probably going to be more than $1 million in terms of subsidizing things for LPs that go there, team going there, booking out this hotel, and then merch and all this cool stuff. And I have a feeling there's going to be some sort of announcement there. That's just my speculation. I'll be going. I'm excited regardless. The next token is Pengu. It's not a super strong core belief of mine that it's going to just explode, but it does tend to do well if Solana is doing well. It's more popular as a token as it appeals to those that have a Pudgy Penguin on Ethereum and also those on Solana. So it's got a broader audience, even though it probably doesn't have as many holders as Bonk necessarily. Now, in terms of fibs, it bounced really hard. It came on really, really low, and it was really, really dead at one stage. Now, this will not be a big fee earner, but we've just got it set up in spot, and we're expecting and hoping it to come up here. Now, you can trade it, of course, but if you're just trading with leverage or even just holding it, selling it, you miss out on all the fees. So I do think a fee decision is the right decision. The thesis is pretty simple. It's just like it gets an insane amount of engagement. It's everywhere. The branding is out there. And I would imagine they have something planned for Breakpoint in some capacity. And if it's something pretty special, it could push things up. And as I said, if Solana goes up, this tends to go up with it because Solana goes up, Bonk goes up, and then Pengu goes up. And the next gem, of course, is Sol. It has been rough. It has been very, very rough. It's come on down. It's come on down hard. It's lost half its value in just mere weeks. And we're not necessarily expecting it to come all the way up here. I think the bull cycle continues, but I think it's more so next year. Maybe even a good part of 2026. We'll have to wait and see is where the fun starts to happen. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. What we are hoping and what we are thinking is we break 200, and that could be all just based on fundamental news pushing prices up. So because of that, we're going to be doing two things. We're going to be staking a little bit of Sol, go over that in a second. We also have a 1.7x long on Camino. Now this is underwater slightly, very, very small amount, and we won't be liquidated unless it drops down to $75. So we're not expecting that to happen. The bull case for Sol, of course, is Breakpoint itself. There's thousands of people heading across the Breakpoint. If you're not going to Breakpoint, then what are you even doing? Make sure you get yourself to Breakpoint. And the other bullish thing that we think could happen is Alpenglow. This is Solana's new consensus protocol. We won't get into the technicals, but essentially a block time that is far, far shorter, 100 to 150 milliseconds. The expectation is testnet could be up by Breakpoint. And then from there, hopefully this like early next year, we actually start to see Alpenglow happen. I did see Anatoly reference that the engineers said Breakpoint would be fine. However, we can also see it in a Galaxy report here, where it says developers targeting rollout on the Solana mainnet by early 2026 and possibly as early as the community's annual Breakpoint conference in December. So maybe, just maybe, it comes this year. And that's everything. That are my picks. That's where I put my conviction. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, and what you're doing yourself.